We've all seen a good gimmick game in our lifetime, right? Baseball in a cornfield, hockey in front of Lake Tahoe, one-way football at Wrigley Field. But what if we went beyond that? What if the stadium itself was the crazy thing happening? I'm not just talking about insane concepts either. I'm talking about making these a real thing. Like what it would actually take to engineer a real bubble bowl. Yeah, we're going there. Outrageous Stadium Concepts is coming up right after this. Look, for me, I typically don't have stress in life until it comes to picking out an outfit. I'm generally not that fashionable, but thanks to Mack Weldon, that problem is now solved. Mack Weldon has an entire system designed around clothes rooted in smart design, made with performance fabrics, and most importantly, built to work together. The daily wear system makes it easy to dress for work, leisure, or play, or wherever life takes you. If you're gonna sit on the couch on Sundays and watch football, check out their Ace sweatshorts and ultra soft Pima tees. Look at this gear I copped. I especially like the swim trunks that have a pocket designed just for your cell phone. I wore them at the beach and hey, I looked great. And their ultra soft underwear fit amazing and provide me with all day comfort. So after this video, head on over to mackweldon.com/5points, and before summer ends, cop the daily wear system and enter promo code 5points and get 20% off your first order. Again, that's mackweldon.com/5points. Use promo code 5points and get 20% off your order. Thanks to Mack Weldon for sponsoring this video and supporting this channel. These are going to start out simple and get more and more insane as the video progresses. Let's start with an aircraft carrier. In fact, there have been multiple times that basketball games have taken place on the deck of an aircraft carrier, and they have always been wild to me. How far can we go? Let's look at the world's largest, the Gerald R. Ford, a Nimitz-class carrier. It's about 1,106 feet long and 256 feet wide. Can we fit a hockey rink? Oh, for sure. In fact, you could fit two, with stands and everything. What about a football field? Once again, easily. A football field is only about 160 feet wide and 360 feet long. You'd be able to easily fit the team, some stands and fans, even concessions. Just watch those throws on the sidelines. Soccer field? Okay, now you're pushing it. We're okay in length, but the soccer field would be slightly more narrow than desired in terms of width. It would not be a full-size field, but it could be done. You could also set up the 100-meter and 200-meter races on the deck. Imagine the Gerald R. Ford going at full speed against the runners. It would look like they're running in place. And sorry, baseball, you won't be able to fit on a freaking aircraft carrier, but no worries. We'll come back to that. I want to cover an even crazier idea, kind of related to an aircraft carrier. A C-5 Galaxy is a monster airplane, but is it big enough to carry the UFC octagon inside of it? We've heard of fight or flight, but what about a sanctioned fight on a flight? I said sanctioned. So a C-5 can hold a max payload of 287,000 pounds. An octagon and two fighters with a lot of frequent flyer miles don't weigh that much. But unfortunately, the cage is 30 feet wide. A C-5's cargo area is only 19 feet wide. There is a bigger plane though, and that's the monstrous Antonov AN-225. Unfortunately, its cargo area is only a foot wider at 20 feet. So unless we do midgets fighting midgets in a midget cage, we will not be having a UFC in the air. Just imagine if you won and jumped out of the cage though. We will be able to fit several bowling lanes, a few pickleball courts, and have plenty of airborne cornhole matches. And all that sounds like a blast, well, until turbulence. Okay, things are about to get crazy. Since earlier we said a baseball field can't fit on a single aircraft carrier, what do we gotta do to get one out on the water? The MLB once held a home run derby in the Bahamas where players hit bombs into the ocean, like the US conducting nuclear testing at Bikini Atoll. But I'm talking about a floating baseball stadium. The float at Marina Bay features an entire soccer pitch floating on a relatively calm body of water in Singapore, and it is surprisingly useful. But what about a floating mobile baseball stadium for the purposes of why the bleep not? So in order to pull this off, we need a floating apparatus that is capable of displacing the massive weight of not just the field, but a stadium. And to figure this out, I got the help of a real engineer, my buddy Beer Battered Aggie Syndrome, that's his handle, to figure out the problem.
So howdy everybody, my name is Beer Battered Aggie Syndrome. I'm an occasional Twitch streamer, just recently moved to South Carolina where I am still a mechanical engineer, but now I'm working in the nuclear industry.
How heavy is a baseball field going to be, and what would you need to pull off having a floating mobile baseball field in the ocean?
Right. Okay, so there's a lot of different ways to attack this problem, but the field itself, no problem, really. I mean, you'd be really struggling on the width. The trouble you get into with having all of that on a boat are things like the stands, the HVAC you'd need, electronics, all that sort of stuff. You're going to have to sort of take multiple very large ships and sort of weld them together. You have to go with ships that not only are very large, but can hold an immensely heavy payload.
I think what you're saying too is like, all right, it would be easy to execute just the field and maybe some bleachers, like a high school field on like a raft system could be easily done. But
Absolutely.
Because you start adding in the concrete and the stands and all the things that go with the stadium, the displacement, it would just be so much. But you're saying it's possible if we just welded together, if we took the tops off a bunch of ships, just welded them together and slapped that stadium on there. So if humanity was really interested in a floating baseball stadium, this could be something that's possible. Insane, but possible. Next, we're going to start with a fairly common concept, one of mythical origin, but the math around it is insane. The legend of Atlantis has been around for a long time. The legend of SpongeBob has been around for about 20 years. When Sweet Victory is played at the Bubble Bowl, SpongeBob is actually in a dome filled with water in an above-ground stadium. But what if we did the opposite? Put a stadium completely underwater. Well, that's a lot more complex than just sinking a stadium, pumping out all the excess. Let's go top shelf for this. Say we want an underwater AT&T stadium. Well, the building is 350 feet high and takes up 104 million cubic feet in volume. Let's see what Ag has to say about this.
If you wanted to put a stadium underwater, and it would be rather ridiculous to begin with. There are tons of other problems with just if you plop Jerry World 400 feet below the sea level. I mean, you'd have currents putting lateral shear forces on the sides of the stadium. You'd have to put up a geodesic dome or some other sort of dome-like structure to keep the area both secured and free of leaks.
What I would envision is, probably a lot of columns to sort of hold up the area.
You'd need quite a bit more than that, to say the least. So it's going to be about 3.1 million square feet as a surface area. So that all that water at 3.1 million square feet is coming down on it. So that's going to be a base pressure of about 36.5 psi at the absolute tippy top and over 190 psi at the bottom, just using a basic water pressure formula. Just the water from 0 to negative 50 feet is going to put a 16 billion pound load, that's billion with a B, billion pound load, acting straight down on anything you place beneath it.
Not to mention enormous equipment to pump out nearly unfathomable amounts of water just to construct your underwater stadium. Oh, we forgot about the insane amount of air needed in an underwater Jerry World. Hey, that's a great way to describe the Cowboys lately. One of the largest underwater open structures with a clear roof I could find is this restaurant in the Maldives, and all that could fit in that is a bowling alley or axe throwing at the most.
There are an unbelievable amount of reasons why an underwater stadium is about the stupidest thing you could come up with, no offense.
How about we go completely underground? No, not like Autzen Stadium, where most of the stadium is dug into the earth. I'm talking about a stadium that is inside a freaking mountain because of some dystopian world where we lost our atmosphere and we're being pelted by asteroids, yet we still need the NFL somehow. There was one time where an underground stadium was tried called Nick A in Germany, but that never even opened as the roof kept collapsing. Obviously, we would have to move a ton of earth, but let's consider what we would need. An open pocket underground that won't collapse. However, in some ways, we can cheat by using the carved out rock for the stands.
The problem with building something underground is not that we couldn't build something long or wide enough. It's that we'd have to build something long and wide enough. It's a dimensional problem.
The closest examples in what we are looking for is called a single vault subway station. In fact, there are a few in Washington, D.C. The most you could fit underground is maybe a basketball court. Now, luckily, solid bedrock is pretty strong, but limited. I guess with a steel structure and stable rock and support pillars, it might be conceivable, but Ag just pretty much said no. So, in my NFL stadiums that were never built, there was a proposal for a stadium on the moon, which was called SILO, Stadium for International Lunar Olympics, conceived by Brian Harms and Keith Bradley, presumably after they each took 27 tabs of acid. But we're gonna go further than that. We're gonna put a stadium on freaking Mars. Yep, the red planet needs sports, and we're gonna give it to them. Never mind that the gravity on Mars is about 60% less than that on Earth. I need to see Martian Joey Votto hit a ball 900 feet. Mars is also 245.21 million miles from Earth. If you've ever been forced to watch The Bachelor with your wife or girlfriend, you know we have the time and the desire to go to Mars to watch sports or anything other than The Bachelor. So, let's look at this realistically. Ag.
So believe it or not, this one's probably more plausible than the underground or underwater examples you previously gave me. And here's why. You don't have to bring the materials with you. Mars has a ton, it's the reason it's the red planet, it has a ton of iron on it. What you'd really just need to do is bring mining equipment over from Earth. If you brought the mining equipment over, theoretically, you could build enough steel and perhaps concrete or some other, whatever material is plentiful over there, to build a structure that, again, you'd probably need some sort of dome. But the difference is this time, instead of a very high pressure, you're going to have a very low pressure because Mars does not have much of an atmosphere.
The coolest idea would be a baseball game on Mars,
Yes.
because I think that this would be the most fun out of all the projects.
I would agree. I definitely think it's the most out there, both literally and figuratively, but it's definitely the most fun. It's probably the most fun one to think about as well. Your challenge with baseball, though, Joey Votto is sitting there getting ready to bat. He swings. It's a foul ball. It goes straight up. You don't want it breaking the roof because then you're going to have a vacuum leak, and that will kill everyone.
Why are we even talking about this? Well, in 400 million years, when the sun swallows our planet, this might need to go down. And Tom Brady will probably still be winning championships. Well, I hope you enjoyed this insane video. Don't forget that I have my own coffee brew, which is absolutely delicious. You can order bench warmer brew from the link below. Mine is the light roast, which means more caffeine, which will allow your brain to be more alert to handle all the ways you're going to think about building an underground stadium on Mars. I'm 5 Points Vids, and you made it to my next video. I really hope you enjoyed this. I had fun.